Welcome to Old School and Eclectic Crafts, my YouTube channel for my Etsy page called Old School and Eclectic. My name is Elizabeth, and I am glad that you are here. Today, we're going to go over some of my personal projects. We're going to go over some order updates on how some of my orders are going, and we're going to ultimately talk about scam baiting. And my love for screwing with scammers. So I tried talking about this 2 weeks ago, and then the stream cut off after like 20 minutes, and I didn't know. I thought it had, like, I knew there was something that had gone wrong, but I didn't know that it actually stopped until about 30 minutes later. So I had just kept talking to my computer, thinking it was still recording and that I was still live streaming, but I wasn't. So we're going to start over. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That alert was my phone telling me that I'm live streaming. So let's start with some order updates. Because of the way that I do my shop and I do my orders, I don't usually have any sort of inventory of any of my items. So when someone orders something, then I start making it. And so I also have an eclectic collection of things that I sell. And so it takes different amount of times to make each thing. And so I like to be able to give updates on where I'm at on each of my orders that are open at a time. So today I am shipping out my order for my finger loop braid, which if you've been on Instagram or Facebook, you've probably seen me posting about it recently. And that is this cord. Let's see if you guys can see this. So this is actually scrap from it. I ended up making it too long because my math was off. So this is 1/8 inch, 100% wool finger loop braid. It's made from this wool, which is super thin, 1-ply, very delicate and breaks easily if I'm not careful. But I was able to braid it into this cord, and that's actually already packaged, and it is going to be shipped out today. It's already ready to be picked up. So if the person who ordered that is watching, your order's on its way. Next, I have my wreath that I'm working on. So I am working on making a pumpkin wreath. And this one's actually from my grandma. She actually ordered this for me, which makes me feel really good. If any of you watched my time-lapse video of me trying to organize this room and get things set up, I was actually trying to find the pattern for this order because I hadn't made it in like a year. Because I had taken all my pumpkin stuff off of Etsy, and then I only recently put it all back on, or brought it all back for the fall and Halloween season this year. So I was trying to find the pattern because it had been like a year since I'd made it. And so that's what that time lapse was on YouTube that I posted. So right now I am making the body of the little pumpkins. These will ultimately end up getting stuffed, and then they'll be turned into cute little squashed pumpkins. And I need to make 5 of these. I currently have 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 completed knit completed ones, and then I have 1 that's on the needles. There's that one. So I have like 1.5 left to finish knitting, because I make 5 for a wreath, and then after I get those all knitted, I'll get them stuffed and tied so that they look like cute little squashed pumpkins. And then I'll use this burlap ribbon. I know it's kind of shiny, there's plastic on it. I'll be using this burlap ribbon and the 8-inch wreath hanger from, these are both from Hobby Lobby, to be able to make my wreath. I use the burlap ribbon as like a base and also for a huge bow. I'd love if you guys go and look at that listing. I love making this. It's super cute. Currently, the photo on my listing is of the original prototype that I made, so the pumpkins don't all match. But after I get this one done, I'll get better photos. At least I hope I will remember to do so. It would be very sad if I forgot. Let's see here. And then there's lace. I'm currently working on an order of my tatted lace. And this one, so I'm making this lace. And I have just over a foot left. I need to make 5 feet of this lace. And I have just about a foot left. I did about 8 inches yesterday. So about 2 more days of solid work on this, and then I need to wash it and block it, and it'll be ready to go. It's harder to work on the lace, especially the white lace, because before I touch it, before I do anything with it, I always have to make sure that I wash my hands and that like I'm not doing anything else, because otherwise I will stain the white, and that's no good. I've never been able to wash out like hand grease stains from my white lace. And so I'm really, really careful and cautious. Like even just working with it just now, I feel a little groany about it because I didn't wash my hands super well just before. So that's the lace. So that's the 3 orders that I have open right now. There we go. Turning up the brightness on my screen so I can actually see myself. Now, personal projects. These are just things that I've been working on my own, because there's always tons of stuff that I'm working on for other people for Etsy, but then I have so many of my own things. So this week, or over the last 2 weeks, I started working on a project that I haven't touched in like 8 or 9 months, and that is in this bag. So this is actually, it was a stitch along from both 2020 and 2021 from a company called Peppermint Purple. And this was actually how I got introduced to Blackwork Embroidery, which you'll find a pattern for some Blackwork Embroidery on my Etsy page. I designed that for this project. So this is that. So this one is the pattern from the 2020 stitch along. This is the pattern from the 2021 stitch along. So as you can see, I have this side done, and this side I'm finishing up. Both of these borders are the borders that the border patterns that I sell in my Etsy page, in my Etsy shop. So I designed these for this project, and now I sell that. So I have, what is that, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares left, plus this bottom corner one is only half done. So this is Blackwork Embroidery. It was, of course, originally done all in black thread way back when it was originated. And it was basically considered the poor man's lace, because you would stitch it on white fabric and it would give the illusion that you have lace. If any of you have looked at the cost of my lace, lace has always been expensive, even way back, hundreds of years ago. It's always been very expensive. And so the poor man's version was to do blackwork embroidery on their clothes, and that gave the illusion that they had lace, even when they didn't. So that is by Peppermint Purple. To my knowledge, she's still doing stitch-alongs. I'm pretty sure there's one for 2020 or 2022. But obviously, I haven't been doing that because I'm way behind on the other ones. I actually didn't start either of those until like December of 2020 is what, like, just before that, I heard about it from another YouTuber who was doing the 2020 stitch along. And so I then picked up the 2020 stitch along just as it was finishing and the 2021, which is why both of them are on the same piece of fabric. I've also been working on my corner to corner blanket, the test stitch that I've been doing for Knotted Up in String. My friend Haley, I actually finished the actual crocheting part. Today, while I'm talking, I was going to pick it up and show it to you, but Winston's on it. Hey, buddy. I had it all folded nice and neat here on the floor, and he's now like bunched it all up and dug it into this cute little nest. So I'll pick it up in a minute. Give it just a minute and see if he'll move. So I've actually finished the crochet part of it, but now I have several hundred, if not close to 1,000 ends to sew in. So when I get the nerve to move Winston after I'm done talking, I'm going to start working on that. Then another personal project that I haven't actually started working on yet, but has been on my mind, and so I'm pretty sure it's going to be the next one that I really focus on, is a project for somebody else, but isn't an order. They're not paying me to do it. And that is this blanket. From what I'm told, this is made of alpaca wool, I think. So it's this really pretty crocheted blanket. Except, as you might be able to tell, it's coming apart at the seams. Like, it's supposed to have kind of a lacy look. Like, you see how these are connected? It's supposed to have that look. But, like, this is supposed to be connected up here. So the person who passed this on to me to fix was given this recently. This isn't an old blanket. This is fairly new. It's only maybe a couple years old. But the person who made it, the crocheting is coming undone right here, so that's something I'm going to have to address. The person who made it didn't connect the granny squares. So each of these would be considered a type of granny square. And the person who made this, it's beautiful, but they just didn't assemble it very well. And so they just used some like string to tie these together, which isn't very secure. And so it's been literally just falling apart. Like, each of the granny squares themselves are generally secure, sort of, but each of the squares are coming apart at the seams, literally. And so this was handed off to me to see if I can fix it somehow and get it to not be falling apart. So that's my challenge. And so this has been on my mind a lot recently, and I'm trying to brainstorm how to fix it while still keeping kind of the lacy connection look. I did try ordering some wool for this, but there ended up being 2 problems with the wool that I got. First of all, I was trying to buy it from a small shop rather than from a big corporation, because I'm a small business owner, so I try and buy all of my wool products from small companies. Like the wool for my cord, this is from a legitimate small business in Lithuania. I think it's there's a sheep wool farmer out there that sells these. But so I was trying to do the same thing, and I thought this was the wool that I was buying was going to be coming from Portugal, which it did ship from Portugal, except I don't want to open up the packaging. It's called Alpaca Drops or Drops Alpaca, something like that, which is made out of 100% alpaca wool, except it is, where is it? Where does it say it? I don't remember where I saw it. But this was made in Central America or South America. So basically it was shipped from South America to Portugal and then resold on Etsy to me. And they lied about where the origins of it were. So I'm a little upset about that. Plus it's really the wrong color. So I guess I'm going to end up going to Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby has some pretty good selections for alpaca wool yarn. So I'm going to go see if I can't find something to try and match this tan cream color. And we'll see what happens. So I don't know what this thread is, but it's literally just these little pieces of thread that have been tied around the joint locations to connect everything together. So it's just falling apart. So this has been on my mind, and this is my next project to try and fix. If any of you have any great ideas, let me know. All right. Okay, dog, I need my blanket. I need you to move. Come on. I know, I'm so mean. I'm so mean. All right. So this side looks all nice. It's very soft. This side, on the other hand, so this is what I'm going to be working on while we talk. Okay. So, scammers. I am probably going to say some of the same things that I said last week in this live stream that actually recorded, but I honestly don't remember what was actually recorded and what wasn't. So if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. So let's get on with it. I get a lot of enjoyment out of screwing with scammers. I spend the vast majority of my time sitting around working on various Etsy orders and personal projects. And so I have a lot of time. So if a scammer calls me, I will screw with them because it gives me joy to just waste a liar's time. I think I originally got into scam baiting because I got taken in by a scammer once and I lost like over $700 because I was I got taken in. So I lost a bunch of money. And unfortunately, this was as I was getting ready to get married. And so when I panicked and paid them, that came out of the money that was supposed to go towards our wedding. And just really screwed with my life. The scammers recently that took me in for over $700, they actually got caught, and the court proceedings are going on for it. So I actually got a letter saying, hey, by the way, if you want to try and get some of your money back, fill out this application and we'll see what we can do. So I haven't heard anything from them, and I don't necessarily expect to get much back, but trying is better than not. So I have at least turned in that application, and we'll see what happens. If I never see that money again, I won't be surprised. But if I do get something back, that'd be great. So I think the reason I got into scam baiting is because of that, because I got taken in. And so that scam was called Ransomware, where someone gets into your computer and they basically lock everything. And this big pop-up comes up. It looks similar to like the blue screen of death, where it says that like there's malicious content on your computer, and so you need to call this number in order to get it unlocked. And it has like this huge warning about don't shut off your computer because you'll lose everything, and it looks absolutely terrifying, which is why I got tricked by it, because I was absolutely terrified. I had no idea what was going on. I know, buddy. I took your bag. Come here. Winston's looking slightly offended because I took the blanket he was lying on. But so what usually when there's ransomware, you can actually turn your computer off and turn it back on, and sometimes that'll clear it off and it's not going to actually do anything. There's empty threats, but don't take my word for that. I would probably take it into an IT center and see what they could do if that were to ever happen to me again. But what happens is that you call the number, and so the warning that pops up on your screen looks like it's from like the computer company or like Windows or Apple. And so you call the number that pops up on your screen, but you're actually just calling the scammers. And then they're like, oh, well, we can take it down, or we can unlock your computer if you pay us X amount of money and you give us access to your computer so we can unlock it. So then you give them remote access to your computer, and then they have access to everything that's on your computer. Luckily for me, I didn't have any personal sensitive information on my computer. I didn't do any like personal banking or anything, and I had very little social media, so it wasn't like there was a whole lot they could like take from me. But they did still get like $700 from me. So they'll take remote access of your computer in the guise of fixing it, but they're just on there to root around and find what personal info they can get off your computer. So that's called ransomware, and it is very illegal. It is not real. It's not okay. So that I haven't heard much about ransomware scammers much. Most scammers these days that I have heard about have been phone scammers. Of course, I also just get a lot of scam phone calls, so maybe that's why. There we go. My needle was stuck on my work. Let's tilt that so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So if you're wondering, the needle I'm using for this is actually meant for sewing in ends. I'm not sure what exactly it's called. Excuse me. But it's this needle, it's a flexible plastic that you, rather than constantly trying to put like these little ends into the eye of a needle, you can just open it up and put it around the yarn. Of course, I picked a bad piece because it's split. And then you're not constantly trying to get into the eye of a needle. Plus, then you can sew in little tiny ends because you can literally move the needle back and forth however much you want. So let's see here. So my adventures in scam baiting. I get lots and lots and lots of scam phone calls. So the phone number that I have has been owned by at least 2 previous people. And as a result, that's 2 additional people's worth of scam phone calls because they have given out the number. And I think they still occasionally give out the number because I continue, even though I've had the same number for years, I continue to get phone numbers and texts and messages for the previous owners, which is just really annoying. But that means that I get tons and tons of scam calls. So I have lots of opportunities to screw with people. A really common scam phone call is, let's see here. There's a lot of them. But I tend to get phone calls for Amazon or Walmart saying that they are from either Amazon or Walmart. And they tell me that, oh, there was this huge purchase made on your account and it's from this much amount of money for this particular item. And this seems suspicious. So we put your account on hold. We need you to press 1 to talk to a representative from our company to be able to resolve this issue or allow the charge or whatever. And of course, it's completely fraudulent. There's nothing that has happened to your account. There's no big pending charge. If you didn't pay it, like, they're not going to call you. Amazon or Walmart aren't going to call you if there seems to be a fraudulent charge. You're going to get an email. You're going to get an alert on your account. You're not going to get a phone, like a cold call, and especially not a recorded call. Like, that's just not going to happen. I've had one of these scammers get so frustrated with me because I wouldn't play along. It was an Amazon scammer who was saying that there was like $1,100 worth of charges on my account. And like, I was looking at my Amazon account at the time, so I knew it was all fake. And I wasn't playing along, and the scammer ended up threatening to actually let the charges go through. And so was threatening these huge payments at me. Now, if I didn't know what he was doing, I would have been absolutely terrified, just like I was the first time that I got the one time that I did get taken in by a scammer. I would have been absolutely terrified and maybe would have given in to him. You need to not. If they're threatening you, especially threatening money or threatening to release your information or whatever, they're lying. They're not real. Like, they're real people, but they're just being jerks. They're not actually, they can't actually do any of that legally. They don't actually have access to your account. What they're trying to do is get access to your account by you giving them the information. If you give them the information to get into your account, then they can get in, and then they can charge large quantities of money and payments on your account. So don't give them your personal information. Don't give any of your login information. Just don't do it. But so I've screwed with scammers where I would upset them so much that they start threatening me, which I just think is really funny because threats are a form of desperation. Like, don't do it. But so that's Amazon or Walmart. Those are really obvious, at least to me. I don't have a Walmart account. I just don't. And so the fact that I got a phone call recently that was like, your Walmart account has had a big charge and we need you to call, like, press 2 to be able to talk to somebody. It was so obvious that it made me laugh because it was just really dumb. Student loan scams are very common, especially right now as the U.S. government is talking about student loan forgiveness. Again, this one for me is very obvious because I don't have any student loans and neither does my husband. I did do some college, but I never actually got a degree. And my husband has a degree, but neither of us ever incurred any student loan debt ever. And so the fact that we get these calls, it's very, very obvious that they're not real. There's a chance that they're like actually trying to help, but I doubt it because a lot of these scam calls for the student loans, it'll say, so if you have student loans that you need help with the student loan forgiveness, then press 2. Or if you don't have any student loans or this doesn't apply to you, press 9 to be put onto our do not contact list. Well, when you press the 9 to be put on the do not contact list, they then call you back like 5 times over the next hour from various different false numbers. Also, if they call you from a false number, it's a scam. Real companies don't call you from false numbers. They don't spoof numbers. They don't spoof emails. Real companies use real emails and real phone numbers. That's how that's like the definitive way to be able to tell. And because after hanging up with the person, immediately call it back. Like, don't wait any time. Like, call it immediately back. And if you call back and the line is disconnected or the number isn't real or it hooks you up to somebody or someone who has no idea what's going on, it's not real. That was someone who spoofed a number and they were lying to you. Let's see here. So student loans are pretty common right now. There's life insurance and health insurance scams that are really common right now also, with like Social Security, and these ones I'm still trying to figure out. Sometimes they want to talk to someone who's a senior citizen, or they think that you're a senior citizen, and so they're trying to get your personal info, saying that, oh, they can get you like free life insurance or whatever. But then when they find out that you are not a certain age, they will hang up on you. And some of them want to talk to a younger person and try to scare them into needing some sort of insurance for the future. And these ones I've gotten quite a few times, and I haven't quite figured out how to screw with them just yet. But those are also fake. Most companies won't cold call you anymore. That's just, they don't do it. I think the most common phone call scam that I get is credit card scammers, where they're like, hey, we're from your credit card company, and we see that it's always the same script, that we see that you have always paid your bill on time, and so you would become eligible for our debt forgiveness program, and we are really grateful for your loyalty with our company, and so we want to be able to thank you by helping to reduce your interest rate or something. But these ones are really obvious once you've heard a few, because they always use the same script. They never know your name, and they never give you any particular information that actually identifies them. Or actually identifies that they know who you are and know who they're calling. If they call you and they can't tell you who they're looking for, they're a scam. Most recently, I got one of these calls, and I was like, they'd done, of course, their whole spiel, and I let them just waste their time going through their script, because it doesn't waste my time. I just keep working. Like how I'm talking now, it's literally all I do is I just put my phone on speaker and just sit and let them talk and waste their time. But so, where was I going with that? So with this scammer recently, my brain has stopped working. I don't remember where I was going. I was talking about credit card scams. I'm so sorry. My brain just I have no idea what I was saying. I was talking about a recent credit card scammer. I'm just letting him talk. I can't remember. I am so sorry. I do tend to just let them talk, because there's no skin off my back to just let them waste their time. What's really funny is when they then get really mad at me, when they realize that they have been scam baited, and they start. I did have one once who got really upset at me, who was basically telling me about how I had just wasted my time and I just wasted my own money, and was completely words are so hard for me today. He was not reflecting. Deflecting? No. It's when what you are feeling or thinking or did, you try and say that the other person did. There's a word for it, and I can't think of it. But he was doing that, saying that I had just wasted my time and I had just wasted my money, and I hadn't made any money by wasting his time. And he was trying to sound really blasé about it, but I know for a fact that he was really upset and really angry. But I don't feel bad for scammers. I just don't. I have a little notebook that I use. Now, having done a whole bunch of scam baiting and screwing with scammers and just wasting their time, I've learned a lot of their scripts and a lot of the information that they repeatedly ask you for. And, I remembered. I remember what I forgot. The scammer called, and I let them go through their entire spiel. I was giving them no information, only half-heartedly responding, and they wanted to know how much debt I had on my credit card, which is part of their normal script. They wanted to know how much debt I thought I had, and instead of giving them a fake number, I was like, well, who are you trying to contact? He's like, the owner of this phone number, which is a big red flag. If all they can give you is the owner of the phone number, it's a scam. They're not real. If they're looking to talk to you and they're real, they'll have your name. They'll know your name. They'll know who they're looking for, and they won't call you. They don't cold call you. Companies just don't do that anymore. And if they do, they're weird. But so he's like, the owner of this phone number. And my response was that, well, you've called a group home. There's a lot of people here. Who are you looking for? He then hung up on me. He didn't appreciate the idea that he might have called a group home and didn't have an actual name. So if you can do something, like, you really shouldn't sit and talk to scammers or appease them in any way the way I do. But if you do something that forces them to try and give a name, and don't give them hints, but just screw with them and try and get them to cough up a name of some sort, or try and get them to give some sort of identifying information for the person they're looking for. My dad one year kept getting these phone calls for my mom. And it was right around Christmas time. And my dad had been getting these phone calls over and over and over and over and over again on their landline phone. And he was sick and tired of it. And so one day, when they called up again asking for my mom, he burst into fake tears and just like ripped into him, going on about how my mom died like 2 months ago and how dare they keep harassing him, and he just let into them with this huge lie just to freak them out and get them to stop. And it worked. My mom's fine, by the way. But yeah, he just ripped into them because they were being obnoxious. So maybe that's where I get it. From my dad. Yeah, credit card scams are really, really common, where they try and get your credit card number and your other personally identifiable information. Notebook. I started talking about the notebook and then I remembered something else. So my little notebook. Having done a lot of scam baiting, I have a little notebook full of fake info. I have a fake name. I have a couple different fake birthdays, depending upon what age I'm pretending to be. I have a fake address, which is actually a Casey's General Store, a gas station here in the US, way out in a different state. I have the information for Walmarts and Walgreens that are near that fake address. So that if I can really play along with them and pretend like, I'm going to actually go to the store and go get them credit, or the credit card scams and other ones will generally ultimately want you to go and get gift cards, which is just such a weird logic jump. But what they'll do is they'll try and get you to go and buy gift cards with your own money. And then they'll have you send them the like barcode information on the gift cards, so that way they can redeem it. And by doing that, it's untraceable, because like there's nothing to be traced other than like you bought this card at this with this barcode number, and then that person redeemed it. A lot of the scam baiters here on YouTube that like stream their scam baiting, they spend hours, if not days, screwing with these scammers, pretending to go and get gift cards, and then not actually giving them the gift card info. For example, one in particular whose name I cannot remember at the moment, he likes to pretend to get the gift card, so he'll get like fake gift card numbers, and then he will, instead of properly sending them the gift card information, he'll redeem it himself, and they freak out. It's very funny, because he'll have had them on the hook for, like I said, hours or days, and all of a sudden, all this money they thought they were about to get, they don't get, and it's just absolutely hilarious. But so this little notebook that I have has all sorts of fake info. The thing is that scammers have started recognizing my fake name that I use. Like, I've started having, when it comes to the point where I give them my fake name and like I spell it out for them, they hang up on me because they've started realizing that it's an alias, that I'm fake. And I think it's really, really funny, because why don't they just flag my number and stop calling me? Nope. Instead, they just keep calling me, and then I give them my fake name, and they're like, oh, and then they hang up because they realize that I'm lying to them. One that is definitely still going around, and my elderly followers are the ones who consistently are the ones who get caught in this. You'll have someone message you randomly, especially someone who you haven't heard from in a while on Facebook, where they'll just send you a link. They'll either just send you a link with no explanation, or they'll send you a link being like, is this you in these pictures? Or something to try and entice you to click on the link to be able to see whether or not it is in fact you or your friends in that video or the photos or whatever that supposedly that link goes to. What that link will actually do is give scammers access to your account. It'll allow them to get into your computer and into your account on Facebook or Instagram. And then they will do the same thing to all of your friends, where they will then message all of them with the same link, and they'll continue to branch out. So if you get a message like that from someone, they have been hacked, and you need to let them know that they have been hacked. But yeah, those are always scams. If you can't get a response from the actual person explaining what it actually is, then don't ever click on links. They used to be common knowledge for emails. Like, if you get a link in an email, especially from an email address you don't know, like, you don't click on the link. But it's the exact same thing for these instant messages on Facebook and Instagram. Is don't click on the links. Don't click on the links. Even if it looks like it's from someone you know, don't click on it unless they are able to give you a proper explanation as to what it is. So I try really hard that when I am messaging people and I send them links, I try really hard not to just send a link, without some form of explanation. That way they know that I've not been hacked and that I'm actually the one sending them the link. If they can't get into your account, they'll start messaging your friends, and they will start trying to get information from them. So I had an elderly relative who got hacked. Sorry, just a sec. Okay. Sorry. We're still dealing with flood aftermath, and I just realized that I both missed a call and a text from someone trying to help me with legal stuff with flood aftermath. So that's what that was. But so I had this elderly relative who got hacked, and I started getting these messages from them from an Instagram account, which this elderly relative didn't have an Instagram account. So that was my first red flag. Plus, the way they were addressing me and talking was as if they didn't actually know me. Like, they obviously didn't know how I was related to this person. The scammer, I mean, didn't know how I was related to this person. And I haven't talked to this relative in a very long time. I mean, I don't live near them. And being an elderly relative, they don't do a whole lot of, like, social media communication. I mean, obviously they're on social media, they're on Facebook, but they're definitely not on Instagram. And so I got this message that was just really suspicious because of the way they addressed me. They addressed me fairly formally, the kind of way that you talk to someone who you're just meeting or have only recently met, as compared to someone who has known you since you were an infant. That's not what I want. There we go. So I'm looking on my phone. I have screenshots from the conversations. That's what I'm looking at as I'm scrolling. So first of all, they messaged me from Instagram account that my family member has never had. It was a brand new account who had no followers, no friends, no posts, nothing. It was a fresh new account. Had the exact same photo as the original Facebook account. And when I responded, already knowing that it was fake, I already knew it was a scammer. And immediately after getting it and knowing that it was in fact a scammer because of red flags, I didn't have an Instagram account at the time. And so I started reaching out to friends, trying to find someone who did have an account who could report it. Because if you don't have an Instagram account, you can't report Instagram accounts. So I started reaching out to friends, seeing if anybody had an account where they could report it. And I actually had several people report this account within 3 or 4 hours. It was reported multiple times. So this conversation never actually came to like a good resolution, but because the account got shut down. But I did have fun screwing with him for the time that it lasted. So he started messaging me, and almost right away, this person asked, "Have you heard about the Department of Labor giving out grants?" So if they're talking about someone giving out money, and have you heard about this? It's this big secret. Have you heard? Like, it's not real. It's not real. And I was like, no, I haven't heard of it. And then I tried to derail him into family stuff because he would know about it if he was real. Just continuing to confirm that this person is in fact not the person they say they are. And then he tries to go in and talk about how my family member had just gotten all this money from this government grant, and how I could do so too if I contacted this person, which I ultimately did just to continue the scam baiting. And that continued for like 2 weeks, just kept going until the account finally got shut down. But he kept going on and talking about how he's like, OMG, which a baby boomer isn't going to use OMG. Not unless they're like super tech savvy, everything. Like, do you know anyone who's a baby boomer who uses text-to-speak? Like, OMG, it's a new program, and I'm blessed from them. I got sum of $50,000 from the grant support they are helping those who need paying their bills, buying a home, starting their own business, going to school, or even help raise their children. It is also... There's no period. It just is a huge run-on sentence. Terrible grammar, terrible English, just on and on and on. It just rambles, trying to get you to think that, oh, there's all this great money that I could get. It's all fake. It's not real. But they try and get you to give them personal info so that you can get your grant money, which is in fact not actually, it doesn't exist. It's not real. The funny part is that they tend to switch back and forth between calling it grant money, which is something that's not taxed. It's basically free money given to you from the government. And then also calling it winnings, which is taxed. So they'll call it grants. Sometimes they'll call it your winnings, other times. And so that inconsistency is a big red flag for it being a scam. But so they'll tell you to contact agent so-and-so or this particular lawyer or whatever, and they'll give you the information. And this lawyer he connected me to, that I was like supposed to contact this agent, and he would be able to help me claim my winnings. And I looked at the account for this agent that I was supposed to contact, and it said, first of all, this is a brand new account for the agent. The photo was a generic, like, U.S. government photo. Like, it had an American flag in the background. He was in his suit looking all nice, which is just this highly generic professional photo of a random guy. I tried to reverse Google search it, and I couldn't find anything, but it was just a super generic photo. And the Facebook account had like no posts, no reviews, nothing. And it said that he was a grocery store. And I just thought that was really, really funny that that's what they went with, I guess. I don't know why they chose that. I don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, when things don't line up, it's not real. People lie. People lie. I don't know that it's quite as bad. So I've been watching House, the TV show. And his big thing is everybody lies. Everybody lies. And that's where all of his assumptions come from, is that everybody lies. And I don't believe that everybody lies, or at least not as much as he does. But if it sounds too good to be true, if it's free money, or it just sounds too good, or it doesn't sound right. Sorry, I'm shaking the screen. It's not real. But so this guy the account said that he was a grocery store, which I just thought was really funny. Then they wanted me to call a phone number, which I refused to do. Don't call the phone numbers. They'll get your phone number, and then it'll be passed off to other scammers. But I refused to call the phone number, and I told them that they needed to call me. If they wanted this family member, if they wanted to talk to me, they needed to call me. And if they didn't have my phone number, they needed to contact this other family member who's not on social media in order to get my phone number from them. And of course, they didn't have access to any of that information, and so they weren't actually able to call me. I did ultimately give them my number. I gave them the number for the scam reporting hotline. I don't know how much the scam reporting hotline would have appreciated that I did that, but I did that. I don't think they ever actually called anyway, but I then spent several days asking them why they hadn't called me yet. And just dragging them along doing that. They also tried to tell me that the money was part of an ongoing COVID-19 relief program, which, if there was in fact a COVID relief program going on, I would have heard about it elsewhere, and there wasn't. So there, that whole section is now clean. We've got all the ends sewn in for that part of the mountain. So once I get all the ends sewn in, I'll do a proper full reveal, especially once I've talked a little bit more with Haley, who is the designer of this pattern. Given that this is her pattern that I'm doing for her. So this is a test stitch. She does all sorts of patterns and designs for corner to corner blankets, or they're sometimes called graph gans because it's like graph paper. It's a grid. And she makes so many of them. They're really, really cool. The link is in the description for them. But she does so many of them that she doesn't have time to crochet all of them herself. And so she let me pick one of her patterns and crochet it for her. And so then once I'm done, I'll get really nice photos and I'll send them off to her, and she'll use them in her listing as like the finished product on the listing, rather than just being a computerized image of the pattern. So if you ever see someone that's like looking for test stitchers, that's what it is. They just need someone to actually create the physical item so they can either check the pattern, make sure it's accurate, so they can get good photos of a finished product. You can always talk to the person who's asking for test stitchers to get more details about what it is that they're expecting. Some people might want you to make it and then send them your finished item, so that way they have it. My understanding with Haley is that I get to keep this. At least that's what I remember it being. From what I hear, her husband is overwhelmed by the number of blankets that she has, because she does try to make as many of them as she can for herself. But apparently they have got a very large collection that continues to grow. So I get a feeling she's not going to want this. So this was a test stitch for her. At the time that I agreed to do this for her, my Etsy shop was still brand new. I didn't have very many orders and I wasn't doing a whole lot. Whereas now I've got quite a bit going on. I have just about doubled all my numbers from last year, which is ultimately what I was hoping would happen, with that I would double year over year. And I am well on my way to reaching that goal. And I'm very, very excited about it. And I really appreciate all your guys' support and help, both in your orders and in watching my videos. They mean a whole lot to me. I feel like I didn't talk so much about screwing with the scammers as much as I was like giving warnings about scammers. I'm sorry if that's not quite what you were looking for. It wasn't what I thought I was going to talk about. Like, I thought I was going to tell more of the stories, but I keep forgetting the stories, and so I'm just like giving warnings. I don't know why. That's just where I went with it. I also didn't have any questions in the chat during this actual live stream. And so if you're watching this on replay, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat and then or leave a comment with any questions you have either about any of the projects that I've been working on or what I'm currently working on or what I've been talking about. If you have a question about something specific in the video, it would be very helpful to me if you were to give either a timestamp for some context to your question or some sort of overly specific information to be able to help me be able to identify specifically what you're asking about. It just make it less confusing for me. But I really appreciate that you guys are here. I really appreciate all of you who have watched, who have been here on the live stream, popped in and out. I really appreciate anyone who's placed orders. There are links down in the description of this video for my Etsy shop, Haley's Etsy shop, Knotted Up in String, where this pattern is located. I also have a link for the pattern itself, so you can go directly to the listing where you can buy this pattern. This is called Cherry Blossom. And it's a pagoda with a cherry tree and Mount Fuji in the background. It's very cute. And I love the pattern for this. I actually had someone who saw the blanket and immediately was able to recognize that it was Mount Fuji. And to me, that attests to the amount of skill that Haley has in creating these patterns and making them recognizable. There's also links in the description for, I think there's one for my Facebook page and my Etsy shop, and also for my Amazon wish list. So my Etsy shop has an Amazon wish list for things that would be helpful to help me be able to grow my shop and grow things that I make. And to make things easier, because there's more than one way to be able to support a small business like mine. There's, of course, buying from the small business, but then there's also sharing videos, links, information, business cards about the person to people who might be interested. I've heard people get really angry being like, why are you trying to get people to do free advertising for you? But it's not free. If you're trying to help your friends, if you really like a location, say you really like a pizza parlor, are you expecting that pizza parlor to pay you money just to tell your friends that you really like the pizza parlor? If you really like your friends' products and you like what they do, why wouldn't you want to tell people about it? I guess that's kind of my mindset on that. So there's many different ways that you can help your friends that have small businesses. And one of the ways that I have provided is for you to be able to help buy supplies that I do not yet have the funds to be able to purchase on my own. So that's why there's an Amazon wish list. There's an old post on my Facebook page, my old school and eclectic Facebook page. And I think it also got shared to Instagram, where I talk about the many, many different things you can do to help a small business. So I invite you to go and find that by looking at my page. I think that's everything. If any of you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments. If you have any ideas of things you'd like me to discuss, things you'd like me to teach, maybe on a live stream, I would love to hear it. I am still well below the goal that I'm reaching for. I really want to get 50 YouTube subscribers. If I get 50 YouTube subscribers, I can start doing mobile streaming, which means that I could start doing the kinds of streams where instead of me talking to a screen, which to me feels kind of boring, I can do things where I'm actually doing it on my phone. And like I have this stand, which I use for filming all of my, it holds my phone, and I use it for filming my reels that I do, or a lot of the reels that I do. But if I were to do mobile live streaming, I could do a live stream in that format where you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So that's why I'm looking to try and get 50 subscribers, because you can't do mobile live streaming on YouTube until you have 50. So that's my goal. I would love for you guys to share my videos and share my content and try and help me get 50 so I can start doing mobile live streaming. I did have one person share one of my videos once, and that got me 2 or 3 subscribers. So that was really helpful, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. I'm really grateful for all your guys' support, for those of you who have bought from me, and from those of you who haven't, but you have shared my stuff. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Again, my name's Elizabeth, and this is from the Etsy shop Old School and Eclectic, and this has been Old School and Eclectic Crafts Wednesday live stream. I hope you guys have a great day.